All right. What's going on, fam? I want to welcome you to the Do Work Podcast. The Do Work Podcast is a weekly podcast where we discuss all things mindset, motivation, entrepreneurship, and how to live your best life possible. Today is no different. So first off, yesterday was my birthday. All right, yesterday was my birthday. I didn't do a damn thing. I didn't do a damn thing. I like hung out with Pancake. I hung out with Pancake. I mean, it was Tuesday, but it could have been Friday. I probably would have still hung out with Pancake. Dogs over people any day. Any day. Anyway, so, God is amazing. 46 years on this earth, I will take it. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Because there's too many people who are my age who aren't here, and there's too many young people who aren't here. So excited to be blessed with another trip around the sun. So today we got a couple things to dive into. The first thing is I'll start with my influencers thing. We're gonna talk about influencers crying on camera, and I'll be honest with you, it is a pet peeve of mine. It is a huge pet peeve of mine. I hate when they do it. I don't know why they do it, but they do. So I definitely want to talk about that. And it's an election year. It's an election year. And you know what that means? It's about to get weird. It's about to get weird. So the question is, I mean, should we be getting ready for another pandemic? Like, I don't know. What should we be doing? But it's an election year. So I want to make sure we dive into that as well. Definitely want to make sure we dive into that as well. All right. So I want to get into this influencers crying on camera thing. So it's funny. Kids under the age, and I'm calling them kids now, and I'm not that old, but I'll say this. People under the age of like 25, they don't know anything else. And I'm not saying that in a weird way. It's just like by the time they were teenagers, social media was a thing, like a full-blown thing. Um, so during this time, we've gotten into this space of every emotion and feeling and everything we have happens on camera. And I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know why it happens that way. I don't know why it happens that way. But every emotion, everything we feel now is on camera. Like we're in this age of and mind you, there are moments in your life that are awesome that you want to record. I 100% get it. There are moments in your life you want to record, like you want to get it. You want to get it. I want to get it. And then there are moments you want to just be in, so you're not like this, right? You're not holding this. There are moments you just want to be in. And then there are moments that you need to keep to yourself. You need to just keep it to yourself. There are moments you need to keep to yourself. So I always say it's like it's a hustle. So the new hustle is that, with social media, ultimately the goal is if you're a content creator, you want to be authentic, whatever that is for you, right? You want to be authentic. You want to try and be able to show people who you truly are through the content you create. You want to be genuine. You want to be relatable. You want to be all these things, right? So that has then turned into if I'm having an emotional breakdown, I got to share it with you. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been through some real shit in my life. Like we all have. We've been through some real shit. And it's odd to me that people have time in the middle of traumatic distress. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about, oh shit, I got pulled over by the cops, or, I need to record this, or, a riot is happening. I need to record this. All right, maybe you want to record it, but even some of the people who've been doing that, y'all kind of stupid because you record yourself committing crimes. Another story. But it's like, I broke up with my boyfriend and screw him. I'm going to record myself having a breakdown and smashing his shit. Like, I don't know if that's authentic. Would you have smashed his shit if you weren't recording it? Like, that's a real question. That is a real question. Would you have smashed his shit if you weren't recording it? And I don't know if a lot of you would have. I don't know if you would have. Hey, what's up, fam? Instagram, we're streaming everywhere. I don't know if you would have. So the thing is this. I think in the need for everybody to be genuine, authentic, and everything else is no longer not. It's just, everything is just staged. Like, everything is staged. Like, my buddy had told me, this was like a few months ago, we were talking about different social media strategies and stuff and how to increase engagement. And he said, and I didn't even realize this, and then I actually saw an influencer admit it. He was like, yeah, people just do fake podcasts. And I was like, what? I'm like, what's a fake podcast? He's like, yo, D, they just set up a camera, have it to the side, and just start rattling off facts. I was like, or words, thoughts, whatever they got to say. And I was like, what? Podcast? Who has time to do a fake podcast? Just shoot an episode. He said, because then when you see the controversial content, you're like, oh, where can I find that? And you can't find it because they never really did a podcast. It was all staged. Too much work. Too much work. And I know it's part of the game, but it's too much work. I can't do that. I can't do a fake podcast to create content. I would rather come on live, actually have a full episode and talk my shit. That's what I would rather do. I would rather do it like that. But anyway, the time it takes to set up a camera and have a mental breakdown, I don't know if you're really having a mental breakdown. I don't know if you're having a mental breakdown. I don't think you can possibly have a mental breakdown if you are taking time to set up a camera and record it. Maybe I'm old school, but if I'm going to have a meltdown, I'm going to have a meltdown in private. I ain't crying on camera to y'all motherfuckers. Like, I know people care, but people don't really care. Keep that shit to yourself. Because then this is the thing. Once you do some shit like that, like once you open in a certain way, you gotta stay open. You gotta stay open. You can't open and then be like, I need my privacy. And I think that's like the trade-off. Like, a lot of influencers, like, they'll come on, they'll talk about their relationship, or they're going through something with their family, or I don't know, some crazy thing happened in their life. And then all of a sudden, when they're done talking about it, they're like, I want my privacy. You don't get your privacy now. We vested. We in it. I want to know what happened. Where'd he go? Why y'all not together? Is your mother okay? Like, I'm vested now. So the whole like staging the emotional output, and don't get me wrong, there are times where you're going to go through something, there'll be some raw emotion. Like, if I was doing a podcast and something came up and I just happen to get emotional, I happen to get emotional. But there's no way in hell I'm setting up a camera in the middle of crying, or setting up a camera, I'm at a hospital and somebody's like, I'm just not doing that for views. I'm just not. I guess I'm just corny like that. So I'm not really sure where this is going, but it's fucking annoying. It's annoying. Like, I don't understand why so many people are just hell-bent on just staging. Like, I tell y'all all the time, social media ain't real. I've been saying that for years. I'm like, this shit ain't real. Don't worry, there are real moments on here, but It's just so overly produced. So even the not looking produced is overly produced. Like, it's ridiculous. So I just want to tell you, if you're ever going to have a mental breakdown, keep that shit inside. Do not set up a camera. Just don't. Don't. Because not once you do, that shit's out there forever and ever. Amen. You don't get to pull it back. It's out there. Like, everything I do and say, I know is out there forever and ever. Amen. So if you're going to have a mental breakdown, keep it inside. Or go to therapy or some shit. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. The other thing, yo, what's up, fam? The other thing that's been really weird, it's an election year. And we all know whenever it's an election year, both parties are going to do whatever they can do to get votes. They're going to do whatever they can do to get votes. I just recently went to the DMV and like switched over my license, and they were like, oh, do you want to register to vote in the state? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, well, what political party are you going to pick? I'm like, I'm unaffiliated. I'm just like, I clicked unaffiliated. It's all a shit show. I don't even think I'm gonna vote this time around, to be honest with you. I have no desire, like no desire. I don't think I'm gonna vote this time around at all. Like, I have no desire to be like, to deal with the shit. I just don't. It's just, everybody does what works for them to get the votes they need. Like, I genuinely feel no one cares about the American people as a whole. No one. And I stand on that 10 toes down. No one cares about the American people. But it's also the time of year, because again, we're going into an election year, that, you know, you can't talk about religion and you can't talk about politics. Now, that's like a general rule of thumb. That's like a general rule of thumb. Like, people say, you know, in the workplace, don't talk about religion and politics. Thanksgiving dinner, do not talk about religion and politics. Like, so the question I have for you is, where the hell do we talk about it? Do we just like rant on social media? Like, where do we have the discussion about religion and politics? I personally don't feel I need a safe space, because I'm going to say whatever I say, and I'm going to stand by what I say. And if somebody misunderstood me, I'll try to explain what I say. But I don't really feel like, where can we talk about religion and politics, and why is it such a hot topic? Why can't I just respect your religious belief? Why not me per se, but why can't people just respect your religious beliefs? Why can't people respect your political affiliations? Like, why? Why is it such a heated topic that we can't have discussions? Now, part of the issue is we're not having the discussions. And as a country, it's important to have the discussions. Now, clearly, some people are going to be super inflammatory with their comments, because most people are emotional, and when things are said, they react with emotion and not logic. Yo, what's up, Mary? They act with emotion and not logic. So that's kind of like crazy. But the thing is, when it comes to people, right? When it comes to us having those discussions, you know, it just really turns into a place where we can't talk. Like, we can't talk at all, which sucks. Absolutely sucks. Like, it sucks. We can't have the conversation because everybody's offended. There was a point, something happened in the last 20 years, because I don't even think it used to be a term. It used to be called politically correct, right? It was a term. It's called politically correct. But that wasn't always a term. Like, that wasn't always a thing. That's some shit that just came literally, I'm going to say, in the last 20 years. And I think that term kind of spiraled and spawned a lot of the issues we have now. Because you can't just say what you're going to say. Like, you have to find, David Goggins, he says it best all the time. He's like, we have to sugarcoat everything instead of just saying what it is. He talks about how when he was younger, he was in school, and he was like in high school, but reading at like a 4th grade level or some shit. Like, he couldn't read. He could barely read. He said, and somebody called him stupid, and he got mad. But the truth was, he was stupid, couldn't read. So he wanted to change that, and he did something about it. So the culture as a whole has now shifted to, instead of me saying what I need to say and doing what I need to do, I'm going to give you the nicest way to say that, not to offend you. So 1, you might not even get the message you need to get. And 2, we just don't want to hurt your feelings. Like, when I was younger, my feelings was always hurt. My feelings were always hurt. My family is savage. My feelings is always hurt. One thing, let me tell you something. One thing about my mama, she was not trying to spare nobody feelings. Ever. On anything. It just wasn't her. It was not in her DNA. My mom did not spare feelings. And my grandmother didn't either. She was terrible. She never spared feelings. She just said shit. And you was like, oh my God. Like, if you came in the house and you look crazy, she was like, well, what you got on today? Like, she had no problem, like, coming at your head with stuff. But now we got to, like, baby that. We got to walk around that. We can't really say what we want to say or do what we want to do. And that's, that's no fun. And I think it's a disservice to people in general. We can't have the discussions we need to have because everybody's so offended and so sensitive and emotional, and geez, it's a lot. I recently, like in the last year, I went through a whole bunch of stuff, and I was going through a transition, right? And I remember I was closing one business, I was starting another. And I remember saying, like, damn, like, do I want to just start another business? Do I want to go work for somebody else? Do I want to do a 9 to 5? Like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And in that moment, I was like, I could never go back to a regular 9 to 5. Because 1, I'd be fired because of my mouth. I would be fired. Like, everything is just emotional. The word... I was talking to one of my clients, and we were talking about things in the workplace. He's like, oh yeah, the buzzword now is microaggression. I'm like, microaggression? He was like, man, you can respond to somebody, and all of a sudden, if they get offended, they respond back to micro. They say you did a microaggression. They send it to HR, and it's a whole thing. I was like, oh, yeah, that's why I didn't go back to corporate America. I'm good on that. I'll just keep doing the entrepreneurial thing because it ain't for me. It ain't for me at all. It ain't for me at all. So I don't really think that it's like, I'm in my chat. That's why I'm like over here typing. I don't really think that it's like this next year. There are a few things that are going to happen, right? And I'm going to say this now. And when I say this to you, remember I told you, okay? Remember I told you. When I say this now, remember I told you. First thing that's going to happen, it's an election year, right? So we about to have some sort of pandemic. I don't know what it's going to be, but we about to have a pandemic. Something that's going to just evoke, seriously, just tons of emotion. 2, we're going to have a ton of social unrest, which we already have. It's been like building, right? It's been building. A ton of social unrest building, right? So we're going to have some type of medical pandemic thing. We're going to have a ton of social unrest. It's election year. 3, there is going to be a huge financial something. Everybody's been talking about the market crashing, and companies have been silently laying people off the last 2 years. They don't talk about it, but I just saw something today that UPS is about to lay off like 12,000 people after all those drivers just got those raises and they were all getting six figures. So I think that's strategy, but whatever. There's going to be some type of financial crisis. Okay. And then the last thing that's going to happen, we're going to have major election drama. Again, don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to have major election drama. So I just want you to remember, I told you this first. I told you first, okay? One, we're going to have a pandemic, okay? Remember I told you that. Two, social unrest. Right? Some sort of social unrest, be it racial, I don't know, some social unrest, but we've already had that, right? You've already had that. Three, election drama, like some type of major election drama is coming. And four, we're going to have some crazy financial crisis. Because when you want to get people to vote, you have to evoke emotion. And if you want to evoke emotion, you have to do things that stir that up, like get involved into race, mess with people's money, lock them in the house for almost 12 months. So I just want you to know, I'm telling you now, not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just telling you. Every time there's an election year, the drama unfolds. So get ready for the movie for 2024. Get ready for the movie for 2024. It is happening. Mark my words, it's happening. So the real deal is this. As we go into this election year, are you going to vote? And who are you going to vote for? I like to ask people who they want to vote for. Like, I don't get offended. I want to know who you going to vote for. Who you going to vote for? I don't know. It's going to be wild. So I personally don't think, I don't believe, I think we need to change some rules. We need to 100% change some rules. We need to change some rules. One, I think whoever's running for president, they need to get into an all-out brawl. They need to do like a battle royal. Like it needs to be like 3 or 4 steps to this, right? To get elected president. One, battle royal. Whoever wins the battle royal, they won up. 2, they got to be able to run and gun. We got to make sure they know how to use a firearm. Whoever can use the firearm, they up. Right? 3, of course, we got to stick with our debates because we learn when we don't let people debate properly, we find out later they can't speak and they stutter and things get weird. 4, they have to win the popular vote. I think we need to 100% get rid of the damn electoral college. They need to win the popular vote. All right? That's what I think. That's what I think. So the president need to be able to fight, need to be able to shoot. The president needs to be able to be articulate. And they need to win the popular vote. And then the person who comes in second needs to be the vice president. That used to be how the country was when they did the first elections. If whoever came in first was president, second was vice president. But then I don't know when it switched to like the strict party line thing. But anyway, so that's something to think about. Something to think about. I definitely think we need to change the way we elect our officials. And I think they should stop at like 70. Now, it may be, and I know I'm saying that, but I do feel, I know some 70-year-olds that are like savages. Like they run, they squat, they smart. They're like, I know 70-year-old stoic, like just straight savages. It's just our options are not savage. Our options are not savage. And when you're talking about leadership and running the country, those things are important. So remember, I'm telling you this now. I'm telling you all this now. Don't forget. It's election year. So shit's about to get really weird. About to get really weird. And we definitely need to change the way we elect our officials. No question. I mean, we call it I think we should call it the presidential combine. We should call it the presidential combine. And then it has like 4 or 5 events. And then whoever ranks the best wins. The popular vote will be heavy because, the American people got to like them. But everything else, let's go. Let's go. And we need to start getting people in the office a little earlier. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's just my take. So as we go into this year, because it's the end of January, it's going to be weird. Things are about to get really weird. They're about to get really weird. It's an election year. So don't be surprised. Just be ready because the shit's going to happen. It's going to happen. And don't say I didn't tell you. Do not say I didn't tell you. So, all right. Before we close out, so next week, we are going to talk about 1984. No, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift. She all right, but I ain't talking about Taylor Swift. I'm talking about the book, 1984. All right. If you've never read it, I was going to talk about 1984 tonight, but then I realized I haven't read the book since high school and watched the movie since high school, but I remember it vividly. And I do firmly believe we are living in 1984. Everything that George Orwell wrote about, we are in. Like, we are fucking in it. We are in the shit. So I want to talk about that next week. I want to talk about 1984 next week. All right, guys, I want to thank you for turning into the Do Work Podcast. Do Work Podcast is a weekly podcast where we discuss all things mindset, motivation, entrepreneurship, free thinking, how to live your best life possible. Today is no different. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the newsletter, divarichards.com. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Diva Richards Do Work Podcast. I gotta get to 1,000 on here. I've been on my grind recently, so I should get there. I gotta get to 1,000 subscribers on here. So that's my goal right now. So I need everybody. If you come across my page, come across this video, subscribe to the channel. Help me get there. All right, guys. Have an amazing night, day. Be great. Let's go.